All right then. Good afternoon, everybody. It's David Bresslauer with Merlin One. I'm joined by my colleague, Sarita Morrison. Thank you for joining us. It's June 20th, 2018, and it's the third Wednesday of the month. It's our monthly Talk to Our Expert series. And today we're going to talk about searching for content in your Merlin. And I know most of you know how to search, but I'm hoping everybody will learn something new and exciting today. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Would someone please just in the chat window confirm that you can hear me, or Sarita, will you pipe in and let me know that I'm here?
I can hear you.
Great. Okay. And if someone else could just in the chat window let me know that you hear me all right. Great, thank you very much. All righty, so let's just keep on going. So as usual, we want to cover the webinar guidelines. I'm going to make this short and sweet. It'll be less than 30 minutes. We are recording the session, so you will be able to download it from our YouTube page. Please ask your questions in the chat window. Sarita and I will do our best to monitor those. I'll break out every now and then to go check on them. They don't need to be related to today's topic, so if you've got something off topic that you want to talk about, go ahead and put it in there. We'll try and get to it. And also, as always, we will take suggestions for future topics. I'm going to let Sarita just speak briefly about our Refer a Friend program.
Hello. So I wanted to revisit the Refer a Friend program. So this is a program in which if you have someone that you think that would benefit from having a Merlin dam, you can just fill out if you click on the link and fill out the form, you can give us their contact information as well as yours, and you can earn a $500 Visa gift card or credit off of your bill if they become a customer. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out. And again, you can always access the link. It's usually in the bottom of our email signatures, and we can also share it with you after the chat.
Great, thanks, Sarita. So this is what we're going to talk about today. So this is an overview of all the things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about configuration. We're going to talk about simple searching, advanced searching. We're going to talk about something that we refer to as text search options. And this is where you can set up the default search operations of your Merlin system. We can invoke a thesaurus and also invoke word root searching, and we're going to talk about all of those options in a minute. And we're also going to talk about how to save searches, and then I've got a bonus slide we're going to talk about as well. And so before we dig in and actually show you how we do each of these things, I just want to run through them on my presentation so that you've got them in front of you. This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about your basic search configuration, how you can create a default search template, and also how that search template may not only be for yourself, but with an assist from our customer service staff, that we can make it apply to your additional or even all of your users. And we'll also talk about searching specific fields in the search configuration. All right. The other thing we're going to talk about a little bit in depth is simple searching. And this is probably how most people use Merlin. We're going to talk about how you can search for the 4 overall file groupings of photos, audio, visual, other, and text. We're going to talk about how to enter in search terms and how those search terms behave. It is inherited from the text search options, which I'll show you. I'm also going to show you how you can use Boolean logic. Some of you may be familiar with this, and it's really, really powerful. Okay. We're also going to show you in the Merlin manual how, just as a reminder, of search tips that are in the appendix, and also the difference between try versus search. In the advanced search, we're going to talk about how to search specific fields, and this includes things like searching for date fields, using search to search specifically inside of collections, which is something you may not know you can do, how you can search for the file extension itself. So if you're searching specifically for TIFFs or searching specifically for PDFs, you can do that. Also, how you can search the file size, about using pick lists and type ahead behaviors. And again, we'll talk about the Boolean operators as how they relate to the specific field. So it's not just in the simple search, you can search specific fields using those Boolean operators, and we'll talk about that. In terms of the text search options, this determines how your search behaves, whether the thesaurus is used, the type of search that's invoked, and whether we're running a word root search or not. And we're going to talk about that in detail, and I'll show it to you. And then we're going to talk about saved searches and how they can be shared or private, how you can create a login search that's specific to all users or even down to the individual user, so that perhaps when you log in, you're only looking for a specific type of content, and you can set that up, and I'll show you how you do that. I'll also show you how to take advantage of some search tools like alerts, emailing a link, setting a saved search to expire, and also as an admin or a higher level user, how you can assign your saved searches to specific user groups. Some other tips that we're going to cover briefly, we'll talk about foreign language searching. This must be enabled on your server if it's something that you need. How you can search past your record set. We often get the question, I get more than 5,000 records back. How do I search past that? And we'll talk about how you can do that. We'll also remind you about the importance of metadata and how it gets added into Merlin. So we'll talk about embedded metadata and even auto keywording using an API. So these are the topics we're going to cover. And now let's jump right in and do some searching. And so before we get started, I'm just looking to see if we have any questions. I don't see any, so I'm going to jump right in. And so what I want to talk first about is your search configuration. And so if you look up now at my search palette in my left sidebar, you'll notice I have a very minimalistic looking search palette, right? I can type in here and I can search for something. So for example, if I'm looking for Antelope Canyon, I can type that in. I should spell antelope correctly, shouldn't I? Right, and then all you have to do is hit the return key, and it's going to search for all of the content where Antelope Canyon is mentioned somewhere in the metadata. And notice I get all of these pictures, I get a PDF, and I also get a bunch of text articles that are related to Antelope Canyon. So that's why it found those. And I'm going ahead and blank my search out and search again, and this will allow me to search for everything. Now, that's a very basic, streamlined Merlin search, but most of our users prefer to at least be showing the clear, try, and search button, and they might even want to add specific fields, for example, a field like date input, and I can set that to date input is today. So one of the things that you can do is set up a saved search template, and you can, and so that every time you log into Merlin, it looks like this, okay? And you might even want to make it so that it's only set to searching photos, for example. And so I've got date input is today, searching for photos only. Notice I don't have anything that meets that criteria, but that's okay. I can go ahead and set this as my default. So using the templates icon or the tool icon that appears as part of my search palette, I have the ability to save my search template as my default, or I can revert it back to whatever my default might be by selecting that, and notice this is what my default actually looks like. So you can set up a save search template and save it as a default, and you can, as part of that default, you can add as many fields as you like. So if I wanted to add the creator field and I wanted to add the date input field is today, I can do that and save this as my default. And so every time I come back in here, this is what my search will look like. All right, this is different than a login search, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I'm going to pause for a moment and see if there are any questions yet. Nope, don't see anything, so let's keep on trucking, as they said back in the 60s. All right, we're going to talk about simple searching. And so, as we already alluded to, you can search the specific file grouping. So I can search for all photo types. I can search for all audio and video. I can search for all other types of documents, which would include graphics and PDFs and Microsoft Office documents, or even Apple documents like Keynotes that you saw earlier. Or I can search text articles, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to blank my search out and just run an empty search, and basically it's searching everything from newest to oldest, because that is how I've got my search order configured to it input newest first. But I could set this to something else if I wanted to, and it's sticky. It will remember it from one session to another. So that's a common gotcha. When the search results are coming back and they look like they're in a funky order, this is the first thing I would check, is make sure it's set to input newest first, because that's typically the most predictable. So you can enter in your search terms in the simple search area. Remember, the search terms that you enter here are searching across multiple fields. It's searching across what we call all of your full text index fields. That includes fields like the description, the keywords, the author, creator, or byline, whatever you have it tagged, and even the tags that you add to video and audio content. That's all being searched when you search across here. So for example, if I search for my name like this, it's searching for the byline or creator field. It's also searching the caption field. It's searching the keyword field, and it's looking for these words, David Breslauer, and they don't have to be in this order. I could search for Breslauer David, and it's going to give me the exact same 948 results, because it doesn't care. It's looking for that very, very specifically. Now, let's talk a little bit about Boolean operators, okay? And those are the operators like and, or, not, near, at least, then, and even wildcard characters such as quote and asterisks and question marks. So let's do this. Let's do David Breslauer again. Okay, and let's run a search. And again, it's the 948 records. But if we insert the word or in between here and run the search, look at this. We got 56,000 records where the word David or the word Breslauer appeared. Okay, so the or operator made it a really, really fuzzy search. It's looking for this or that. Now, without anything in there, it's just like typing the word and is presumed. If you do not select anything and you don't type the Boolean operator in here, it's just like you've entered the word and notice it's 948 records. But now let's do this. Let's use another operator, and we're going to put quote marks around my name. Okay, and let's run a search, and now we get 939 records. Okay, so clearly there are some records in here that have a different Breslauer as part of the string, and so it narrowed it down to 939 records. Okay, now what I want to do is, before I get any further, and well, let's actually talk about try versus search. Try just does a really quick count and reveals the information here rather than actually running this search. Okay, so if I were to do David Breslauer and not landscape, okay, and so I've got two Boolean operators going on here. I've got my quote marks and I've got the not operator going on. And if I do a try, notice it doesn't change my record set, but it tells me there are only 807 records. But if I click search, it's going to run this search and it shows the same 807 records, but it also takes an additional moment longer because it's having to show me all of the thumbnails, okay? So it's showing me all of the thumbnails. So try might be a wee bit faster than actually running the search, but not a whole lot faster. Okay, the next thing I want to show you while we're here is, before I get into more advanced searching, I want to talk a little bit about my text search options. and those are revealed by clicking the little triangle next to the magnifying glass. So notice if I let my mouse hover here, it should tell me that those are my text search options. No. Anyway, there they are, text search options. And this is where you can change the behavior of your searching. So you could make it so that when you're searching, instead of using Boolean searching, you could say, no, I want it to do an all words search, which means all of your words must be true. It's like putting the word and between everything. Or you can say, no, I'd like it to be any words, which is like putting the word or between everything. And you can also say, I want it to be an exact phrase. That's the same thing as putting the quote marks around it, as I showed you. Or you could even ask a Merlin a question. Now, this one doesn't work particularly well, but these other 4 options work really, really well. And sometimes it can throw you for a loop because you might have it set to any words and you don't understand why you're getting these huge search results because you're expecting the word and to be in between them. So I like Boolean searching the best, and that's where I like to leave it, and that would be my default. And this is sticky. It can remain like this until you come back in and change it. And if you want, our Merlin One customer service team, and you know how great they are, they can go in and set this up, and so it's the same for all of your users so that you don't have to worry about a user being tripped up by this. You can set it so that it's the default for all of your users. You can also tell Merlin to invoke a thesaurus, and you can build a thesaurus in the admin area if you have permission to do that. So for example, if I search for the word plant, it knows to search for flowers and trees and shrubs. So you can build a thesaurus that's unique to your industry, to your workplace, because I am sure all of you work with different acronyms, and so you can include acronyms in the thesaurus. You can also tell Merlin to do a word root search. Now, by default, Merlin searches for singular and plural. You don't need to enter in tree and trees to get both of those terms. Merlin is smart enough to know how to do that automatically. But if you wanted to have it search with the word running, when you type in the word ran, Merlin knows how to do that. So again, for a more fuzzy search, check both of these boxes. For a more exact search, uncheck both of these boxes. Okay, I'm going to pause. I'm going to go see if we have any questions. Don't see anything so far, so I'm going to keep on going. Let's talk about advanced searching. So I think Boolean operation is a little bit advanced, and what's really nice is you can use it in other places, okay? But let's say you wanted to add some additional search criteria. So you can click the plus button, and remember, if you don't see the little plus button here, you need to click the little disclosure triangle next to the word search, and the plus button will appear, and you can choose to search different fields. Now, the fields that are displayed here, you might have fewer fields, you might have more fields, but the fields that are displayed here are configured by your admin user, and of course, it could be different for different user groups. So a power user might see more fields here, and a casual user might see fewer fields, again, all configured by your admin user. Now, what I want to do is I want to talk specifically about some of the field types here that are really interesting. So in addition to searching for lots of different date fields, so I could search for the date input or the date created, those are two different things. And I could say I'm looking for things that were created on a specific date just by using my calendar picker, or I could look for things that were created today, or I could look for things that were created in the last 100 days, for example. And I'm going to strip out the part at the top and just search for date created in the last 100 days. And look, I have 35 records. Notice at the very bottom of the screen, 35 records that were created in the last 100 days. Okay, so if I scroll down and down and down, you can see these are the 35 items that were created in the last 100 days. Now, some other things that you can search on that are really interesting. you can search on the unique Merlin ID. Every item in Merlin, and I'm going to open up my metadata palette just for a moment. Every item in your Merlin is assigned a unique Merlin ID. Now, this Merlin ID field may be relabeled because some of our customers have said, well, no, I want you to make it the ID for our Merlin system. So it might include your company name in front of it, right? So for example, for the White House, it might say White House ID or White House Merlin ID or something like that. But you'll see a unique number here that is never repeated. And if I wanted to, I could copy that link, for example, and up here, if I wanted to search for that Merlin ID specifically, I'd be able to select Merlin ID. I'd be able to paste that ID in there, run a search, and it's only going to show me that particular item. Other cool things I can search on. I can search on collection membership. So if I wanted to search for everything that was part of my AirVenture member collection and everything that was part of my Project X collection, or inside of Project X, everything that's inside a specific Project X folder, like each of these, I can do that. And now when I set that, when I run my search, it's going to show everything in those 6 collections all at once. Okay. Now, some of our customers have asked, I'd like to see everything inside of a collection folder, not inside of a collection itself. This is a workaround in how to do that. So you'd very easily be able to say, I'd like to see everything inside of shared, and set that. And I'm going to click on search, and look, it's got everything that's inside of all of my shared collection folders. Okay, 205 records. So that's kind of a way around searching inside of searching a collection folder and not just the individual collection. You can do that here and leave the rest of the search criteria blank. But of course, if you wanted to, you could add additional information in here. I'm going to search for the word Safari, and look, it's searching across those 2 collections or collection folders, and it found everything with the word Safari somewhere in the metadata, and you can see it found it here because it's in the description. So that's a really cool thing to be able to do. You can search by file extension. So if you wanted to search for all photo types, you can do that. But you could also say, no, I'm only interested in searching for web graphics. And when I click that, it's searching the file types that are usually used for web graphics, PNG or GIFs. Okay, but if I wanted to, I could add JPEG to that as well. And there are lots of different JPEG formats. So you might have JPEGs that end in .jpg, but there are JPEGs that also end in JPEG, JFIF, and ANP. And some of these are rather old file types. But again, because Merlin has been around for so long, you may have some of these file types in your Merlin system. And so you can choose to search very specific file types, okay? So if you were only looking for JPEG, you can do that. I don't have any in my system, but that's what you could do. Same thing with videos, right? If I'm looking for all of my video formats, I can add them. And these are the typical video extensions that we can search on, right? And so if you're, again, looking specifically for MOV files, you'd be able to remove the other file types from this search, okay? You can also search by file size. So again, you could look for bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, or even gigabytes, right? So if I'm looking for content that is greater than 1 gigabyte, okay, and I'm going to search across all of my file types, I'm going to get rid of the word Safari. I'm going to click on search, and look, I have 11 records, including this zip file, and look, they're mostly videos, but they're larger than a gigabyte on my Merlin system, right? And so I can search for file size and choose, you know, greater than or less than, in between, and I can also choose, am I looking for gigabytes, kilobytes, megabytes, and whatever. So this should help you streamline that. I can also search for content in different languages if your Merlin is enabled, right? So if I'm searching for content in French, right? I'm able to do that. I don't have anything that's in here in French, so we won't do that. All right. But I could search by language. I could search by orientation. And look, this is a pick list. So if I'm looking for panoramas, I can do that. And Merlin is only going to search for things that it thinks are panos. If I'm looking for squares, Merlin can search just for square photos. And if you don't see orientation configured on your Merlin, it might be labeled format. If you don't see that configured in your Merlin with a pick list, and look, these are all square photos pretty much, you just let us know and we can configure it on your Merlin system. So some of these are pick lists and some might be type aheads. So for example, if I choose to search country field, notice if I start to type in here, it's going to autocomplete for me from a pick list. So it's allowing me to pick United States of America. And if you need help configuring pick lists and type aheads, again, contact our customer service department, let them know, send an email to hostedsupport@merlin1.com, and it will create a ticket in our ticketing system. All right. The last thing I wanted to show you before I leave this advanced searching is one of the cool things that you can do is you can actually apply Boolean operators to the creator field or to some of the other fields. So for example, if I type in Breslau, not David, okay, it's going to search for my name in the creator field, but if the word David is also part of the creator field, it's going to exclude it. And when I run that search, I get these 5 items. And look at this. It's because my wife takes credit for these photos. So her name is in the creator or byline field, okay? In front of my house a few years ago, lots of snow. All right, so I want to talk about, oh boy, we're really close to running out of time. Let me check and see if there are any questions yet. Orientation, is that field automatically generated upon input based upon the attributes of the photo file? So that's a great question, Melissa. So typically the way we do it is we can manually create that list because it's typically only 4 values. But you can also create a dynamic list after you've got 4 different types of content in there, but the only way we tag them is square, panorama, horizontal, and vertical. Those are the only tags that we're going to use. And so you can either create the list manually with those 4 tags, or over time we can automatically create the list. It will pick up those 4 tags because Merlin will generate those values automatically on input. Okay, so yes, when you upload a file, we will automatically add the value to the orientation or format field, whether it's one of those 4 values. Okay, let's talk real quickly about saved searches. Once you've got a search set up here the way you want it to be, right? So maybe I'm interested in current content. So maybe I'm looking for things that were input in the last week, right? So I'm going to say input in the last 7 days. And I'm going to run that search, and I found 18 records that were added. But if this is a search that I want to save all the time, I have a choice of making it a private search that belongs to me or a shared search that other users can see. And all I have to do is click on private or shared, click the plus button, and it's going to create, let's see, is it not doing it for me? For some reason, oh, there we go. It says I don't have permission to do that. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to go look at that. But basically, I would click the plus button here. It would create an untitled search for me, and then I would be able to relabel that search. And then if I thought it was the world's greatest search in the world, I could drag it from shared up to, from private up to shared rather. And again, I don't have permission to do that. So I'm showing you how an admin user can actually lock down some functionality for you if you want, just to kind of keep things the way they are. So that's a little bit about saved searches. You can create a special type of saved search by clicking the plus button, and name it login search. And it can be set either private or under shared. And when you log in, that is a search that's run automatically the first time. And what's really cool is you might have a shared search called login search and a private search called login search. And it will take your private login search will take precedence. If you don't have a private login search, it will run the shared login search for all users. So that's kind of a cool thing. So you can create your own login search to override the login search that an admin user might have set for you. I'm going to check and see if we have any more questions because I know we're running out of time. Search for duplicates. Okay, yep. So Jim Arnold is pointing out search for duplicates is great, and you basically can search for the word duplicates. We automatically tag duplicates if that's created. When you want to create a safe search, you need rights, user rights. Can you show that? Yes. So Jan, you asked me. I'm going to go into the weeds real quickly here. I'm going to go to administration. I am going to go to my user groups, and I'm going to pick a group at random. I'm going to pick Merlin Photo as this group. And so notice here, I've got these permissions. And so notice I can create saved searches. You need that permission in order to create a saved search, okay? And if I go look at this, I'll bet one of my group's Merlin users is create only private saved searches. And I think I probably belong to that group as well, which is giving me my problem. So I'm going to go ahead and uncheck that. And it's not going to change anything until I log out and log back in. But under the user groups, you can see we've got all of these things. I can create only private saved searches. I can create saved searches in general. I can also move saved searches, and you saw that one as well, right? And so you need permission to move saved searches in order to move one from private to shared, or to move one within from shared one location to shared another location. So I hope I answered that. Let me see if we've got any other questions because I want to make sure. Rights, permissions, I think I answered that. Jan, you can contact me offline if I didn't get that for you. Okay, just real quickly, and I know we've covered most everything, and if you need to drop off, I totally understand, but I think if you'll give me another 5 minutes, since I made so many of these others so much shorter, I guess I have a 5-minute credit. In my Save Search area, I have tools, okay? So I can create an alert on a saved search. So for example, I created this search called Cityscape, and if I want to receive an alert anytime new content has arrived, I can type in the email address or addresses and save that as an alert, and it will automatically send me an email whenever new content has arrived that meets that search criteria, okay? I can also email a link. So if I wanted to email that search to somebody, I can go to email a link. I can copy and paste the link directly from here if I wanted to paste it someplace else, or I can actually type in an email address. No, come on. I have to look at this typewriter, the keyboard when I type, and I can add some information here. I can change the subject. I can add some text here, click send, and it's going to email me a link that I can click on. I probably got another, yeah, and it's going to email a link that I can click on, and it's going to, that when I click on that link, it will allow me to log in if I'm not already logged in, and it will take me to the search results. The other thing I can do is I can set a save search to expire, which means it disappears from this list. So you might create a whole bunch of World Cup searches if you've got World Cup content coming into your system, and then have them automatically delete in a month or so when you know the World Cup is over. And again, for your user groups, you can control what groups see these searches up here. So for example, I've got a search that's searching actually in Chinese for the term botanical gardens. And if I want to, I can view the groups. And again, I don't have permission to do that, but I should be able to go in and say, I'd like to make this available to all of my users, or maybe only my power users, and you can control that as well. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to mention is that we can enable your Merlin to search for foreign languages if you're putting multilingual content in your Merlin, or if I should rephrase that, if you want to put multilingual content in your Merlin, and I'm specifically talking about non-European style languages, so things like Chinese or Arabic or Hebrew, and in this case, notice it's Chinese, right? And so if I double click on that, say search, it's running for botanical gardens. And if you want Merlin to support foreign languages, we can do it. You just need to let us know. You can also, this is a big one I wanted to show you. People often ask, how do I search past record 5,000 out of 21,573, 215,000 rather. So how do I do that? And so my usual answer is narrow your search results down and do things like date ranges or add some metadata. But if you wanted to, if it was really, really important to you to go see the next record set, scroll to the bottom, look at the date this item arrived in your Merlin. So this item arrived 12/13/2015, and come up here and in your search, do a date input and type in that date and say, I'm looking for content that arrived before 12/13/2015. And it will basically take you to the next record set, okay? So that's a way to get beyond those 5,000 records. And I know it's not quite what you're looking for. It is a workaround, and you can do that. Finally, I just wanted to talk about reminding you about the importance of metadata. And you can collect metadata. Merlin will collect metadata from content that's embedded. So metadata that's embedded in the file, we can search that metadata. You can add metadata at the time of upload, and this is important as well. So by filling out this upload form, we'll grab that metadata, okay? You can also add metadata by way of a custom API if you've written that, and that's something that we can help you with if that's useful. We can also add metadata from an accompanying spreadsheet, and we're doing that for some customers. NASA, for example, they're uploading a bunch of legacy content, and their metadata exists in spreadsheets. And so we're actually marrying the spreadsheet data with the content. And finally, again, you can add metadata by way of our upload, our integration with Google's Cloud Vision product, right? And so take a look at this one. This one I think is really amazing. Not only did it identify this as being a canyon or a landscape or a computer wallpaper, that's funny to me. It's also identified it as being in Antelope Canyon, and it flagged it as a landmark, and it also said it's red, it's orange, it's maroon. And so these colors are all searchable. And so, for example, if I search for pale pink orchid, it finds only a few records, 2 of them to be exact. And take a look at this. The metadata, it picked it up because it found pale pink in the color, and the word orchid, again, because the Google's Cloud Vision added that as searchable metadata. And while I think it's really, really important to get good metadata on upload, sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes you might have lots of legacy content that you're trying to get into your Merlin that just doesn't have metadata. And so this is an option that we can add to your Merlin. We do charge for it. Google allows you the first 2,000 tags per month to be free, and then after that they charge like fractions of a penny per tag. And you can check Google's website if you're interested in knowing more about Google's Cloud Vision tagging with Merlin. Let us know. Also, something that we're working on, I can't tell you too much about it yet, I can't show it to you yet, but look for it later this year. We're going to add AI so that you can do facial recognition in Merlin. And so once you've trained your Merlin for content for faces that it expects to be seeing, we'll be able to tag new content that's coming in once Merlin knows about them. I'm going to look and see if there are any other questions. Is there any possible, you seem to be capped at 9,000. So Amanda, Yes, we can make it larger. It can be set to a maximum of 5,000. Let us know. Pop us an email or pop me which site you belong to, because, man, I'm sorry, I just don't recall who you're with, but let me know and we can take a look at that. Does the auto tagging apply to assets already in Merlin? Denny, that's a great question. And the answer is yes. Merlin can be set up to back tag content, and you can make it configurable so that it back tags everything if you want it to do that, or you can make it based on a piece of metadata so that, for example, if something is checked, so you could create a field that says, hey, back tag this content, or maybe you want to base it on the approval or librarian checkbox. So yes, we can go back and back tag content. Okay, thanks everybody. Boy, we covered a lot of stuff today. Oh, here's a North of Boston Knob. Thanks. Yes, I'll make a note of this and we will increase it to 5,000 as soon as I'm off this call. So the next time you log in, you'll see more than 5,000 records, Amanda. So thanks for letting me know who you're with, and we'll get that changed. Thanks, everybody. I know I went 10 minutes over, but so many times I went short, so I do appreciate your time. If you have any other questions, please feel free to let us know. And again, if you want to watch this, it'll be on our YouTube page later today. If you have any other questions, please feel free to send them to myself or to Sarita, or if you've got a support issue, hosted support@merlin1.com. And of course, the one is spelled out ONE. Thanks, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We'll see you next month.